All right, guys, so I have yet another encounter with the Clayton County Police Department. I'm not going to make this video long. After the, I'm not going to say altercation, but after the traffic stop, I did file a complaint on the officer who actually stopped me, um, and also the lieutenant as well. I wasn't going to file a complaint on the officer who stopped me, but most definitely a complaint was filed against the lieutenant. After the stop, I did a follow up and I spoke with the lieutenant over the phone. And over the phone, he just didn't listen to me in the story I was trying to tell him. He was saying that he had already seen the video, and you know, in speaking with him, uh, he just cut me off several times and actually accused me of uh, doing whatever the officers, claim that I have done, especially with being or allegedly being on the phone. And he was telling me over the phone, he said, well, it seemed as though you just admitted that you was on your phone while the vehicle was in motion. And I'm like, no, that's not what I said. Then he also accused me of saying that I put the phone in my lap, which I didn't say, so I had to correct him again. I was like, no, I didn't say that either, and I told him, I was like, you're not giving me the proper amount of time to get out what I need to say because you keep interrupting me. And so it went on from there. He hurled some insults, and then later on began to say that, hey, I don't want to argue with you over the phone. And then he just abruptly ended the call. I'll get more into that when I post the video. Um, some things that I recorded, I didn't post. Um, some things that I probably should have recorded, but I mean, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It really wasn't, I don't think video worthy, to post. But after the first time I got stopped by the first officer, Ella, I did see her on a separate traffic stop, which I stopped on. And I told her, I said, hey, I did speak with a supervisor or your lieutenant, and he hung up in my face. So she was dealing with somebody at the time on a traffic stop, pulled into like a racetrack gas station or something like that. And I didn't necessarily confront her again, but we just kind of spoke on what the previous stop was about. Um, all in all, I think she was a pretty decent officer. Like she didn't really do nothing. She didn't really do nothing bad per se. Like I could tell she really seems to be a good-hearted person, or she tries to be. But during the stop, she did not do a good investigation. I think she was only looking to trump up a bunch of charges. Um, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe she's trying to move up in the ranks or get a raise or something. Um, I do know what her whole name is. I think she's been an officer for at least maybe about 3 or 4 years. Um, so I do like to do my homework on these officers, and in some cases I get more information than what the average person could probably get. But I'm not gonna go into doxing and all of that. But sometimes I like to get my homework on certain people to see exactly who I'm dealing with, just in case something else arises um, from that particular situation. But so viewer discretion is advised, because one clip that I'm going to post, I didn't bleep out any words or anything like that. Was after the stop. And after the phone conversation I had with the lieutenant, I decided to go to his precinct and have a word with him because of the phone conversation. And usually I have a lot of self-control in most situations, just like I did on the traffic stop. But in this particular situation, I said, no, I cannot let this fly. The way that phone conversation went, I wish I could have recorded it and posted it, but it was pretty bad. So this has happened to me before with other departments where I've called supervisors and spoke with them, and this guy here was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. His name was Lieutenant Price, and so I decided to go down and pay him a little visit. And yeah, had a little discussion with him, and I didn't even post all of that up. So I did have a conversation with him inside of the precinct where he was telling me that I needed to leave and leave his precinct. And I was like, this is not your precinct. You know, there were two other officers that was involved outside when I pulled up on them. And they weren't bad guys. You know, I did get a little mouthy to them, which I later on apologized to both of those guys, and their demeanor just kind of went way down because they knew that I was really pissed off about what had happened. You know, them seeing me come up there and act like that, they were probably looking at me like, who is this dude? Without really knowing the backdrop to the story, which I told them later on while I was down there at the precinct. One of the officers was like, yeah, I do see you riding around with, with that 10 or whatever. And I, look at it and I'm just like, almost as if, nah, that's not, enough for me to stop you. So there are, multiple police officers just in the area where I stay at, where I see them all the time. And if anybody stay in the metro Atlanta area, y'all know about Clayton County. I mean, I see these guys every single day, leaving the house, and it's a ton of them between Clayton County Police, the sheriff's deputies, between Jonesboro, Riverdale, just that whole area. Like, you see them all the time, including Georgia State Patrol. So, but I just told those guys, I said, look, man, I don't want no problem with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all seen me come up here and have, a pretty nasty discussion, with y'all lieutenant, but I'm gonna give y'all a backdrop on what just happened. And you can see, like, when I'm telling them, it's almost like their facial expression is like, but real cool guys, man, real cool guys. I would say the only person I really had an issue with was the lieutenant. But what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna read you guys the complaint form that I filed, so that way you'll have a better understanding or a better idea of what the situation was, and then I'm gonna drop the video. On 5/2/2025, approximately 15:23, I was stopped on Terra Boulevard heading northbound by Officer Ella Karilova. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I'll just say Ella. For alleged traffic violations. During the traffic stop, I called dispatch and requested to speak with the supervisor. No supervisor was available at that time. I received a phone call from number 404-391-5107 at 1628 from Lieutenant Price, Precinct 4. While he acknowledged having already reviewed footage from the stop, the conversations quickly became unproductive. As I began explaining my version of events, I was interrupted multiple times. Lieutenant Price hurled an insult at me, saying I was ridiculous, belittling me because of a statement I made, and said he wasn't going to argue with me, and hung up the phone while I was still talking. I felt as though he had a disdain for a civilian with a legitimate complaint and didn't care to be bothered. I was explaining to Lieutenant Price about one of the charges I received, which was 40-6-241 subsection C, distracted driving while using a mobile device, in which he said I admitted guilt on the phone, which was false, and that he fabricated. During the stop, I pulled into a private parking lot after exiting the roadway. Once I lowered my window, Officer Ella alleged that I was on a FaceTime call having a conversation. I informed her that I was not on a call, but was using my phone to record the encounter through the front-facing camera on my phone. Officer Ella, in my opinion, lied by making the statement that if I was recording her, I started my camera while the vehicle was moving. I asked her if she visually saw me on my phone before she initiated the stop. She said no. But when she saw my phone, it said 43 seconds, insinuating that by the time she approached my vehicle, I was recording for a lengthy time. When I reviewed my video, from the time of me pressing the record button on my phone until she walked up was approximately 23 seconds. I also let her know after the stop, I was a certified and licensed private investigator. Officer Ella told me she would cancel one of the tickets she wrote me, which was the 10th violation, 40-8-73.1. In regards to 40-6-20, traffic control device violation, Officer Ella stated that the traffic light turned red before I reached the stop bar. However, given that she was positioned several vehicles ahead of me in heavy traffic, I find it highly improbable that she could have accurately determined my location in relation to the stop bar at the exact moment the light changed red. I was already in the intersection while the light was still yellow. I'm deeply concerned by both Officer Ella's actions during the stop, which I believe involve misrepresentation of facts, and Lieutenant Price's dismissive attitude during what should have been a fair and impartial review of my concerns. As a licensed private investigator, I understand the importance of objectivity and accountability in law enforcement, and I do not believe those standards were met in this case. So I went on to say some other stuff. It's just kind of irrelevant. It was just pretty much in the closing of my statement, and them, contacting me via email with the results, hopefully within 30 to 45 days. I went down and I spoke with the detective. The detective listened to me and everything, and took my complaint and told me it would probably be between 30 to 90 days. In Clayton, Canada, they got a lot of stuff going on, so I get that. With that being said, even right now with the complaint forms that I filed in Jonesboro last year in August, I'm still waiting on that. Still waiting on that, by the way. So that just kind of goes to show you that these people really, sit on their hands when it comes to stuff like this. So I don't look for anything big to come out of this. I just wanted this to be on his file. This something, being something that he did, whether it was founded or unfounded. Anybody, pulling his disciplinary record should be able to see the complaint itself being filed if they are interested in doing so. But yeah, let me go ahead and post the video up so you guys can see. To me, I feel like at this point, I'm not even really just going around doing real auditing type of work, going to police precincts or city halls or anything like that. It's just me basically driving and getting stopped. Like this goes to show you how many times I get stopped, throughout, the month, or, from month to month, every other month or whatever. Like, these are just the interactions that I'm picking up minding my own business. So it may be entertainment for some, but it's definitely not entertainment for me. This gets kind of old after a while, but here you go.
The Clayton County Police Department. First, you ran red light. Second of all, your windows to the commercial driver's license, and we're both going to look at the measurement for the shooting. You can look at the shooting. What do you see, sir? Sir, that's a number. Do you know how much it's supposed to be? 30, you have 10. Also, your phone conversation, you're on a FaceTime while you're driving. This is distracted driving, so give me a minute.
So I just started recording after I got the car stopped. So she said I'm on FaceTime. I'm not on FaceTime. So I'm just recording what's going on right now since I just got stopped. She said I ran a red light. I didn't run no red light. And then she's stopping me for my tent. And as y'all know, again, this always a thing, with my tent. You know what I'm saying? So Yeah, we're gonna see how this one go.
Well, I didn't ask him if she wants supervisor.
I just wanted to wait until you got done. I didn't want to interrupt you with your stop.
I'm fine. Okay, I'll do that. Supervisor comes up to you. Okay?
All right. So, of course, if you don't sign the ticket, you're going to jail. So I just signed the ticket with my name on it under duress. So, taking my seatbelt off. Y'all seen I already had my seatbelt on. So I've been written multiple tickets. And she said, why didn't you tell me you wanted to talk to a supervisor? You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, so like sometimes it's a hit or a miss when you ask to speak to a supervisor. Because the last time I did that, or the last time I did that, I ended up, going to jail. I was talked to sarcastically, and I don't know, but I just know that if you were at like a restaurant or something like that and you asked to speak to a supervisor and one of the workers said, nah, I'm not finna let you talk to nobody, I'm pretty sure that person would get, written up or either fired. So I never understood why when you ask certain police officers, could a supervisor, be present or come along after that traffic stop, why they would tell you no. So that's usually why I wait now. I just wait till they get everything out, and then I ask for one later. But this is 3 tickets. So I got 1 ticket for my tent, 1 for running a red light, and the other ticket was for what was the other ticket? Tent, running a red light. Oh, and she said I was on my phone. She said I was FaceTiming. But as you guys can see, I'm not FaceTiming. I started my camera when I pulled into a parking space. I'm on private property right now. That's when I actually started to record when I got to this location here. So I wasn't on my phone before I started recording. But see, she didn't see that until she had just got out. She was like, oh, and you on FaceTime. So that's another ticket. So the thing is, in these situations, you got to pretty much stay calm. And that's really it. You know what I'm saying? So now she's walking back up again. We're going to see what she got to say this time. So.
Yes, so I think it was advised that the supervisor is unavailable. Somebody died over there. They're all backed up on it. I was told that you know about that. So if you was trying to say that you're private investigator, I would not know until you tell me. Since you didn't say anything, which is not body
Somebody
camera.
told you I was a private investigator?
Nobody told me. I'm just giving you an example. The only law enforcement can have tinted windows. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. Well, the only issue is that I have is that when you approached,
yes,
you didn't ask me why my window tint was dark. So usually I don't say anything. I just let you guys do what you do. Mm-hmm. But I do have an old ticket up here. Like I get stopped almost every month for the same thing by you guys, where this was also voided out, where I got a ticket for my tent.
Okay.
And it was voided out.
I have to go to court, but I would not know unless you tell me. That's not, if you're in law enforcement, you should know it's not a common practice to approach somebody and say, why your windows tinted? Because trust me, if you do traffic like I do, every single one tell me they either bought the car like that, or they're from Florida, or they're from another state where it's allowed, but it's no way allowed over 35% anyway. Law enforcement, of course, is exception from the code section, absolutely yes. But if you won't tell me, we don't have crystal ball, I don't know. We didn't say a word, okay? We didn't
You
say
don't have a crystal ball.
I would know if you law enforcement or not if you didn't tell me, correct?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not being sarcastic with you, so I'm not using that type of, language. But
I'm sorry?
I said I'm just not using that type of language with you because I'm not, talking like that. I'm being respectful.
Any language to me, like that's why I wouldn't know.
I know, that's why I waited until you got done, because I don't want to interrupt you
when
and
I
stop.
issue all the citations, do my narrative, come back to you, and then
And
you
these
tell
are all
me
my
what was
credentials.
the point.
So if you look up 40-8-73.1
I know
subsection
the
10.
section, sir, but if I knew it before, I would handle it differently. I would not cite you for tinting, okay?
So I did the same thing.
What I'm going to do now, I'm going to put in the system as a warning for tinting, but you're still liable for red light and distracted driving. So I'm going to go ahead
doing what now?
change
What's
it to
the third one?
warning. Red light,
And what's the other one?
distracted driving. Because I came over here, it was 43 seconds duration.
Yeah, and I started it when we stopped.
43 seconds, sir. I have 20/20 vision. It was 43 seconds duration, which means you was
You said I was on FaceTime, but I'm not talking to anybody. I started recording when I stopped.
Okay. Phone is on. It's
Yeah.
Video.
Right.
Whatever. 43 seconds duration, which means you touch your phone, you turn it on when you was in the roadway.
No, I did not. You can't see in my vehicle. You saying you got 20/20 vision, but you was listen. Hold on. You was in front of me. So how could you see me run a red light if you're several cars in front of me?
About in the court, sir. You have a good day.
Wow. Okay. So is the traffic stop over with? Is the traffic? So I'm asking, is the traffic stop done?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I was going to
I know,
because
you
I
said-
didn't know supervisor was coming. That's why I was going to sit and wait. But since you was advised they snuck up on something else, so
No, they didn't tell me that.
Well,
They didn't tell me that, because I know when you came back to the car, you said I was
Yes, I
advised.
came because I didn't know.
I didn't know either. Yeah,
I
but
guess
they
they were
didn't.
talking the same time, and I was talking to you. That's why they
Probably
asked
so.
if you was clear, because I wasn't. I was talking to you. So
Yeah, but no, but what you said was, I'm quoting what you said. You said you got 20/20 vision. I have good hearing. You said I'm citing you because you're.
43 seconds of duration.
Listen. That's fine. But what you said was you're on FaceTime. I'm not on FaceTime.
That's totally fine. You
I
still
didn't
touch
start
your
it on
phone
the
when
street.
you shut, sir. 43 seconds. You did
Okay.
not show 43 seconds over here. It took about 12 seconds. 43 seconds. You touched your phone and activated your button on the phone when you're in a roadway.
But hold on, wait.
Which is
But
43 seconds. That's what I
did
talk
you?
about my vision.
But you didn't see me do that driving. You can see
I
in my
don't have
vehicle.
to see that, sir.
Okay, but you can't write me a ticket for something that you don't know.
Sir.
When you walked up, you
Phone
didn't
is
know.
activated with 43 seconds.
You
duration.
saw my phone and you said, "Oh, and because you didn't stop me for
Because
this."
I saw 43 seconds up there.
Okay,
Stop.
did you see me manipulate my phone
Absolutely.
on the
No,
road?
I did not. I don't.
Okay, then. So that's what I'm saying.
Sir,
You're
go to
lying.
court. I'm not lying. I see 43
You're
seconds
lying.
of
You said I
duration.
activated it
Sir,
on the street. I didn't.
Sir.
Okay.
You cannot use that language. I didn't say you lying, but you keep saying I'm lying. How
You're-
am I lying?
because you
duration
said
is
I'm on
43
FaceTime.
seconds.
I'm not on
Okay,
FaceTime.
I'm seeing it. Okay, but you still touch the phone. Still activated.
When I
the
stopped and when
recording
I put it
button
on
43
park,
seconds prior to I came.
it's
to the
not
car.
illegal to record my traffic stops.
If you park, absolutely not. But 43 seconds.
That's what I'm
of duration,
saying.
sir. 43 seconds of duration before my approach tells me that you was activating your phone and showing recording button when you're still in the
that's a
roadway,
lie.
which is distracted
It
driving,
wasn't
sir.
43 seconds.
Sir,
But
like I
listen,
said,
I'm going to still wait on the supervisor to come, because right now you're being a little irate with me. You didn't see me run no stop sign because you're several cars in front of me. If I ran a stop sign or a red light, you ran it too.
Sign is a red light.
No,
And I did not.
you ran it.
Sir, I don't know if you want to call them again and ask, because from my
Nah,
understanding,
because
they
this
picked
is
up on something else.
okay. See, I'll tell you what.
Not there going.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording on this.